Hey everybody, how's it going? If we haven't met yet, my name is Sarah and I'm the owner of the Rare Plant Haus, and in today's video, I'm actually going to show you how to propagate Hoya plants. This is a great way to get new plants without having to spend any money, and bonus, it makes it easy to share your plants with your friends and family. This is a really easy process that anybody can do, so stay tuned and I'll show you how it's done. So the first step in propagating Hoyas is to choose a healthy plant with plenty of leaves, and I'm going to show you the ones that I've picked for the video to propagate right now. So let me get you turned around. Alright, so we've got Hoya Macrophylla, pot of gold. You can see this has a lot of nice healthy leaves, lots of spaces where we can cut. Okay, so now that we've picked our Hoya plants that we're going to propagate from, the next step is I recommend you pick a point along the Hoya vine and take a snip off the vine. I recommend leaving at least 2 nodes with 2 leaves attached to make sure you have the best chance at success in your propagation. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so before we make our cuts, we talked about leaving at least 2 leaves along the stem. So this is actually really cool because this is already starting to regrow down here, a brand new shoot. So really anything along this vine is fair game for us. So let's start at the top because we were going to have a top cut, and let's just kind of review. So we talked about nodes. That's a node right there. That's where 2 leaves will come from. And then this is the tendril that'll continue to grow when we make our top cut. So if we want to leave at least 2 nodes on, and preferably 2 nodes with a couple of leaves on them. So we're going to kind of ignore these nodes. These could develop into leaves, but there's not much there right now, so we don't really have any guarantees. So if we turn this around, we've got this one and this one because we want something on the plant to photosynthesize. So those are 2 different nodes. So we could get away with cutting that I probably will cut right here at the top of this node, and then that'd be the next top point. So let's go ahead and make our cut there. So ready? 3, 2, 1. That's it. And now we've got a top cut of a Hoya. Okay, so now that we've made our cut, the next thing we want to do is we're going to actually leave our cuttings out overnight. We're going to place the Hoya cuts we made on a paper napkin or a paper towel so that they can dry out where we made our cuts and then callous over on the stem. So we've made our cut, and you can see the sap right there at the end where we made the cut seeping out, and we've just got this placed on a paper towel. And when I said callous over, what I mean is I want this to callous over and dry up just kind of like a wound would. Like if you scrape your knee, you want it to callous over eventually, right? So we're just hoping that little point will callous over, because the next step we're going to do is we're going to place this in a wet medium of some kind so that roots can grow along here, and then we can up pot it eventually. So we want to reduce the risk of rot by letting this stay out overnight. And then here, speaking of sap, here's where we made the cut, right? So this also has that same sap coming out of it where we made the cut at the top. So this needs to callous over too. But we're gonna make some more cuts along this vine. Okay, so here's our plant. And I'm gonna just remove this clip so you can see this is what we have next, and I know exactly where I'm going to cut this. In the Hoya trellising video that I uploaded, I mentioned my husband's been taking care of these, all my collection, because I have a back injury, so watering is difficult for me, and I mentioned that he tries to wrap like at a very sharp angle when the vine is new. And we talked about in that video how not to wrap, like why you shouldn't wrap, because it can cause a little bit of a It does callous over, but it can cause your vine to die off. So when I cut this one, I'm actually going to cut it right here at the top of this next node, because you can see this does have a new leaf coming in. So that's where we always want to cut, is the top of the next node. Not super close though. So this is the callus point. So I'm actually just going to cut it right there. And then this is what I have. Let me move this out of the way. So this is my cut. And let's make, since this plant is regrowing, let's make one final cut. It's got a new, you guys see that? A new shoot right there. So there's no reason why we can't take this all the way to the bottom. So we've got 3 leaves on this cut, and then we'll just make, ooh. It's funny, the new growth, I don't want to disturb it. There we go. So I don't want to disturb the new growth, so I'm not going to go all the way down. So I'll cut it right there. So there's a little bit, you can see there's just a little tip where there's some sap, but the new growth, there's a new growth right next to it. So, and then we've got this cut as well. Okay, so the next step I have for you is you're gonna place your stem in a cup with some damp sphagnum moss in it. I recommend that you use a transparent container so that you can watch the roots grow. So let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, so now we're gonna do moss. We're gonna do a moss propagation. We're gonna do one of the Hoya Macrophylla pot of gold cuttings that we took. We're gonna put it in this plastic cup. And then we are going to we're gonna put this little bamboo skewer in and clip it so that we can kind of like trellis it early. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start with pre-wet, pre-dampened sphagnum moss. Put a little bit in the bottom of your cup before you put the cutting in. So you put that in, like so, you put in your cutting, and then you're gonna fill in with moss around the stem and keep it loose. You don't have to pack it down. Less compaction, probably the better. Keep it soft and fluffy and loose. That way it maintains some aeration around the root system. And this is really what is going to keep your plant upright while it grows roots as well. On this one, I think I'm gonna just, this leaf is starting to go down, so I might just cut that leaf off because I want a longer stem. So let me pull it back out. So I cut this leaf off, and that's okay. It's okay to cut off the bottom leaves if you need to make your stem longer, and then it'll sit a little bit better on the pot that way too. So, and we have enough leaves on here. We've got 2 leaves to make it viable. So this will definitely regrow. It's already got 2 other new points along the way. So this will make a nice plant once it roots. So we've got that. And then if we want to give it a little more stability, it's a little bit floppy in the pot, we're just gonna put this into the moss, and we could leave it like this, or because it can rest against that, you can use twine if you don't have any of these clips. Something gentle, and then just clip that together, and now it's not as floppy. So you've got moss, and again, you're just waiting for the roots to show up, and then just fill this up. Just keep the moss wet. I like to fill the whole cup up with distilled water. Let it, when the moss starts to dry out, and you'll know because it's like really crunchy. And then once it's crunchy, I saturate it completely with distilled water. Like I'll just pour water into this cup all the way to the top, and I'll let it soak for maybe 10 minutes just so the water can absorb. And then what I do is I cover and I just pour the water out. That way there's moisture in the moss and it's had a chance to absorb the water, and then it's moist again, but it's not sitting in water. Okay, so now that you know how to propagate Hoya plants, get started and make more plants. It's really easy. It's a really easy process, and you can do it with just a few simple steps. So don't wait any longer. Get propagating. Thanks again for watching, and if you found value in this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, like the video and subscribe to our channel. I'd be really appreciative and it helps me out in the algorithm, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!